Harper Audio presents After the Fireworks, a collection of 3 novellas, After the Fireworks, 2 or 3 Graces, and Uncle Spencer, by Aldous Huxley, with a foreword by Gary Giddins. Performed by Michael Page. Foreword read by Tom Parks.
Foreword. Jesting Aldous, by Gary Giddins. 1. In the marketplace of literary standing, Aldous Huxley's stock has veered so often in the 100 years since he published his first volume of poetry, The Burning Wheel, 1916, that the volatility itself fascinates. Each era defends its own reasons to rekindle or extinguish his light as novelist, essayist, and sage, and for that matter as poet, dramatist, biographer, and epistler, a debate that began long before his death. A promising poet of the 1910s, who rhymed erudition and made the didactic lyrical, he burst loose on the 1920s as the defiant, surgically mocking novelist who deemed nothing sacred and nothing, least of all sex, bodily functions, and God, off limits. Before Hemingway and Faulkner, it was Huxley who gave voice to the lost post-war generation, a fearless, suspicious, unabashedly bookish voice, easier than Joyce, sunnier than Lawrence, and so contagiously liberated that even Faulkner vainly attempted to borrow, in Mosquitoes, the mordantly funny Huxley touch. By the 1930s, his illustrious name was synonymous with smart. When the Marx Brothers went to school in horse feathers, they enrolled at Huxley College. When Liza Elliott articulated her delusions in the Broadway smash Lady in the Dark, she warbled, "Huxley wants to dedicate his book to me." Huxley was born in 1894 in Godalming, a part of Surrey, the climactic setting of Brave New World, 40 miles southwest of London. His lifelong interest in genetics reflected his own remarkable gene pool. The family tree boasted his paternal grandfather, T.H. Huxley, the evolutionist, and his maternal great-uncle Matthew Arnold, the critic and poet. His adolescence was financially secure, but traumatic. At 14, he lost his mother. 3 years later, he lost his sight to keratitis. He mastered Braille and regained partial vision, but remained near blind all his adult life. 3 years after that, his beloved brother Trevenant succumbed to depression and hanged himself. Aldous went to Eton and Balliol colleges, where he began to focus on writing. He published his first book at 22. In 1915, he encountered D.H. Lawrence, who 10 years later would exert a great, if passing, influence on him. His future wife, Maria Nyes, a refugee from Belgium, a background reflected in Uncle Spencer, and Garsington Manor, the artistic enclave created by Lady Adeline Morell, where he lived, worked, and associated with Bertrand Russell, Nancy Cunard, Dora Carrington, Mark Gertler, Augustus John, Lytton Strachey, and others who inadvertently posed for character studies in his fiction. In his dazzling Peacockian debut as a novelist, he remade Garsington as Chrome Yellow. If his second novel, Antic Hay, exemplified a hilarious nihilism, his subsequent work, especially the short novels collected here, documented his way to a more meticulous, intellectual, compassionate, yet no less amusing approach to the novel. We owe to Edith Sitwell this indelible portrait of young Aldous. Aldous Huxley was extremely tall, had full lips and a rather ripe, full but not at all loud voice. His hair was of the brown, living color of the earth on garden beds. As a young man, though, he was always friendly. His silences seemed to stretch for miles, extinguishing life, when they occurred, as a snuffer extinguishes a candle. On the other hand, he was, when uninterrupted, one of the most accomplished talkers I have ever known, and his monologues on every conceivable subject were astonishingly floriated variations of an amazing brilliance, and occasionally of a most deliberate absurdity. Brave New World, his 29th book in 1932, clinched his cultural centrality. 5 years later, Huxley, the quintessential Englishman, moved to the land of John the Savage, establishing himself on the rim of the Mojave Desert, savoring the quiet while apparently going Hollywood with a vengeance. His 19...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?